Hey loves, how are you? Today I'm going to share a client story that is actually like this really beautiful interweaving energy that goes from um, things that this gentleman is currently working on in his life and places where he felt kind of stuck, and how it all interweaves into his ancestral story, which, by the way, he didn't really know much about because he's adopted and he doesn't know his biological parents. Yet we were able to dive into that information, and what we found resonated with him. And then the following session really interwove into that biological ancestral DNA story, and then started to interweave with actually some past life information that came up for him. And these two sessions kind of wove together and set up the stage for our third session together that's coming up soon. But the point of this is that I feel like a lot within his story is relatable on some level. And it also shows the beauty of the work that we're capable of doing together. Also, how the information ancestrally, biologically, past life is actually stored in our system. Even if we don't know our ancestors, that information is still within our cells and having an impact on our life. And then, of course, as you weave in, he had a very deep past life oath that he made as a knight. And this oath that he made was actually continuing to follow him through other lives. And currently, we went through a process to unravel that out of his system so that he could have the space to invite a relationship and a family into his space. So it's a really fascinating and beautiful experience that I'm excited to share with you today. So I hope that you stay to the end and honor the story, receive the messages and support. And also, if you'd like to drop in the comments any experiences that you've had or that you feel are relatable, we would love to hear from you. And of course, if you're not subscribed, we would love to have you here. So welcome. Okay, so he came in with this feeling that he really wanted to work on, manifesting a relationship into his life, because he's kind of had this series or stream of experiences that he meets someone and then it just doesn't quite pan out. And also part of what he's been doing as a result of being bored and kind of not so happy with himself is, after work, kind of going out to the bar. And he stated that it's not even that he's doing it for fun. It's just kind of an escape to get away from himself in a lot of ways. So during the first session, we were energetically guided. As he was talking, I started to see in the system ancestral information. And energetically, it felt like he was carrying an immense amount of burden in his system. And in this life, he is actually adopted. And so he doesn't know a whole lot or anything really about his biological parents except for where they're from. But the information is living in his system. And as we went into the ancestral fields, his mother's energy came up very quickly. And she expressed and explained her story of why he was given up for adoption. And what came through was actually she was betrothed to a young man and she was living with the family. And the young man's father decided that he wanted to have this young woman for himself. And as a result of that, this young man I'm working with was born, and the mother chose to give him up for adoption because the alternative was just something that she didn't feel comfortable with. But the information that came through was that she carried a significant amount of burden in her system because she didn't actually want to give him up, but had to do it for his safety. And this all kind of interwove with a bunch of energy and information that what he was carrying in his system, around how her fears and worries and wants and love for him were actually in his system from when he was in her belly. And we worked with that information to help clear it out, to unravel it, but also to honor his mother. And we were able to share the support with her energetically, even though we don't even know, he doesn't even know if she's alive, if she's passed on. And we don't necessarily need to know any of that in order to work with these ancestors, because the stories, the memories, the energy lives within the cells and the being of whoever I'm working with. And so we have access to that information because it lives within you. And as you are ready to release it, as you are ready to work with that stream, it'll come to the surface, and then we will work with that information. Through this session, the information and the story that came through that I was seeing, he didn't actually necessarily know for a fact that what I was sharing was true, but it felt true to him. It made a lot of sense to him. And he actually, throughout the session, felt a lightness coming into his body and into his system. And emotionally, you could feel almost like a burden lifting from him. And then about a week or so later, he wanted to come in for a second session. And I could tell immediately there was a lightness within his energetic field that had never been there before. You could tell that some of that had settled in his system. And he wanted to go back into supporting what we were working on because he was feeling and sensing a difference. And he remarked about how helpful it was because it wasn't necessarily something a therapist or anyone else could support him with, that there was kind of things that he had always wondered and felt, but he never really had the affirmation or the confirmation or the safe space to explore these potentials. And so as we sat with the next session, his mother came in right away. And we could see, or I could see a stream of energy actually behind her. And I knew that it was more information. And the way it showed up in the system, I just see things energetically, as the person's higher self or subliminal information appears to me. And what I saw was that there was like a clip and there was like a whole bunch of information behind it. And as the clamp released and the energy started to open up, all of a sudden I saw this vision of this young man in another previous lifetime as a knight. And as I said that to him, he lit up because as I told the story and the energy that I was feeling about this knight who took an oath for his family as a burden because no one else could do it, but he went into an oath that he didn't even necessarily owe, but that stream of that oath as a knight, without being able to have a relationship or take a family, was still in his system. And we could see the energy of the stream from that oath that he took in that lifetime and how he had carried that burden with him throughout all lifetimes to this one, which was connecting with the energy of him kind of at the bar, having a few drinks, not happy with himself or his life and feeling very stuck. And as we spoke about it, and as the energy opened up and the story came out and it was unraveling, you could sense a relief within him. And that was when he said this work was helping him in a way that nothing else ever had, that he had always felt the type of energy I was describing, but didn't necessarily know or think that he could have been a knight in a past life. And as we spoke about it and we went through the process of unraveling the oath and that he completed that and that he no longer had to agree with it, as the session went on, we kind of hit a point where things were settling in with the work that we had done, but there was a sense that there was more. that he wanted to explore within that. And it did come up towards the session that there was a love connection that he experienced as that night that he was not able to fulfill or move forward with because of his oath. And that is actually what we're going to explore in our upcoming session. But I just wanted to share this because it was so interwoven with what he's experienced right here and right now in the present. But all of this past information from his own past lives, from his ancestral experiences, and then from his own experiences within this life were all interwoven. And this is a perfect example of sometimes why I say my work is just intuitive and we allow your higher self to lead the session in conjunction with my abilities, because this way what happens is the way the information is stored within the system is how we allow it to come out naturally. There's nothing that we're forcing. There's nothing that we're trying to skip over. We're actually taking the information from the starting point of how it's presenting in your system, whatever is up in your system right here and right now, what's going to be the most beneficial for you. And then we allow it to come out in a way that is physically, emotionally, psychologically, mentally, and spiritually supportive for your process. Okay. Sometimes I have people come in for one session and we work on things, and then I don't see them for a long time, or I might not see them again. They may have gotten exactly what they needed, and that's perfect. Then I have clients like this one who are ready to go deeper into some of these pockets and get to some of the core threads of what might be holding them back in areas of their life. And this is the type of support that I can provide for my clients in a safe space where we don't judge what comes up. We co-create the sessions together. And through the process, what I'm finding a lot with my clients is that they're receiving validation for things that they've always wondered or felt, but maybe didn't quite understand. And yet when we come in and we do the sessions, or they can be on video or phone, when the information comes in, I'm noticing a very deep sense of relief, of the recognition and the validation of the energy that they've always felt, but didn't necessarily understand or have a safe space to explore. Okay. And I was super excited that he was comfortable with me sharing this story, because I think that it's such an important one that a lot of us, if not all of us, are dealing with on some level. Maybe not the exact story, but it shows the depth and the complexity of what our human bodies and our emotional bodies are actually dealing with, the level of information that's stored within us that may have been suppressed or ignored, or that no one really knew how to deal with, that we've been carrying around. And now we're in a time and a place where we can not just release the burdens of those energies, but we can honor them for the lessons that they've taught us, and honor the ancestors and honor the past lives. And at the same time, like I said, rest the burdens so that we can start to move forward as individuals in creating and co-creating the life that we want to create now. Okay. There are many reasons that this might be happening. I guess I mostly focus on the fact that this is where we're at. We're at a time where we're unraveling out of the old patterns on the planet. This includes ancestral patterns, past life patterns, societal patterns, okay? And so we have the ability now that we don't have to continue to carry those loops and those patterns in our system. We can keep the information that's supportive to us, the lessons, the ability to survive. Okay. We can take all of that information with us, honoring the ancestors, honoring ourselves for everything that we've done and been through up to this point. But we're also at a time and a place where it doesn't have to be this hard or difficult. We are moving into a time where we can unravel these burdens and move into more of a time of ease. So if this is something that resonates with you, where you feel like you've hit these walls or these blocks that you just know there's something more, but you cannot see it, these are the type of sessions that can be helpful. Or perhaps something even in this conversation that I'm having with you right now is opening up those pockets for you, maybe memories or validation or affirmation around things that you've wondered, around stories that you may have felt. There's a way that you can go into quiet meditation and call on your ancestors, ask them to share information. Go in, and if this happens and information comes up, allow yourself to trust what you're receiving. Okay. And like I said, if you want support with that, of course I'm here. But at the same time, these are pockets and energies that we can explore without judgment. Okay. Whatever stories come up, whether they're past life or ancestral, if you're wondering or feeling like, oh, is it just my imagination? Oh, am I just making it up? This is my philosophy. Whether you are or aren't doesn't really matter if it's helping you process the information stored in your cells. And this is way back in the day when I did my first past life regression with another practitioner. I wasn't sure if it was real. I was like, am I just making it up? But I will tell you this, I started to notice positive results. And so I didn't really care if it was real or not at that point. I just wanted to get the support that I needed that was helping me move forward. And in my second session with that woman who did a more traditional past life regression, I was struggling to go into the past life. And actually what happened is I was regressed into my current life when my mom was actually pregnant with me. And I started receiving all of these intuitive impressions of what my mom was experiencing. Now, mind you, at this point, I wasn't doing this work that I'm doing right now. I knew I had intuitive abilities, but they were not a muscle I was practicing with. So I didn't have a lot of experience with trusting that part of myself at this point. But what happened that was really cool was after that session, I feel like this is why my higher side self guided me to this situation, was that I went home and my mom was still alive at the time. And I shared with her the impressions and intuitions I picked up that she was experiencing while she was pregnant with me, because I was curious. And she confirmed all of it for me. And I was kind of blown away, because I started to realize twofold. One, I could start to trust my intuition, but two, I had this opportunity to receive affirmation from her around what she was experiencing, and that myself as a baby in her belly was picking up on this information, and it was living inside of my consciousness. Okay. So that all kind of interweaves back from my initial experiences with waking up to the potentials of this work, getting confirmation that a lot of it is very real and validated in real time. But then even if there's those question marks of if it's real or not, but if you're feeling the support and the lift of the burden in your system, and you're feeling validated energetically, and it helps you move forward, and it supports you in moving into the life that you want, and feeling that ability to move from burden and survival into thriving and flourishing, then my philosophy is, let's roll with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to control and know and understand every single thing that's in front of me. What matters to me is that it's supporting who I'm with, and energetically the vibration and the frequency and the support is available, because ultimately at the end of the day, your higher self, your soul is what is in control of the session. Your subconscious fields, your quantum energy is ultimately what's guiding it. And I am there as a support to assist you through this process. And I clearly have a lot of my own experience with my own subconscious fields, past life, ancestral patterns, and I'm pretty steadily working on those as they come up. And so anyone who's worked with me recently and worked with me in the past sees that my work is continuously evolving, just as we are continuously evolving, because this work, what we're doing, is on the cutting edge of the transformation that humanity is going through right now, moving from those kind of 3-4D codependent patterns into a more interdependent, unified, co-creative community. Okay. And so we're doing both simultaneously. And so these pockets of energy and information are coming up in our system because we're actually ready to move through them, not because something is wrong with you, not because you're blocked, not because you're bad, or because you made a mistake, but actually because we are ready to evolve. We are ready to ascend while we are in these physical bodies. We're ready to release those old patterns and loops and build the new loves. And this is just one small way that we can move through and support these shifts and transitions. I hope that this information was helpful. I hope you enjoyed this story. And if you would like to hear more of these types of session stories, let me know in the comments. I enjoyed it. I think I'm definitely at least going to do a few more, because I feel that there is a lot of value within this understanding that we are doing this work. And even people who have no background in this type of energy field are coming and receiving support and validation in ways that they didn't even know were possible. All right, loves, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And again, as always, like, share, subscribe, share it out, share it with your people. I love you, and have a beautiful rest of your day. I'm going to drop the link to my sessions in the pinned comment. Take care. Love you.